Hey y'all, it's Steve, Hobo with Wood, and this is going to be a quick how to use my photo props. This is a little boy calf. See, he has horns. Little boys have horns. Back there is my pink girl calf, and she has no horns. Little girls have no horns. This is going to be a how to use this file, how to cut it out, what you need to look for, the potential stumbling blocks. There are no roadblocks, but there are some stumbling blocks that if you don't follow these directions, you won't get the proper outcome. And this is a quick how to get the outcome you want when cutting out this file, which is available on hobowithwood.com. Stay tuned. Okay, before we jump into LightBurn, let's talk about the design itself and go over some basic information about the design. The design is 3 layers thick, and I cut mine using about 2.8 or 3 millimeter material. So that gives it, once it's glued up, about almost a centimeter of overall thickness once it's glued together. So this is pretty substantial when assembled, but individually only 3 millimeters. They're a little bit fragile. But you want that when you're making 3-layer design and it's going to be around newborns, and you don't want something so heavy if it falls over and hits them in the head, it doesn't leave a permanent impression. Excuse me. So the top layer, it's cut out. You're going to have a lot of waste because the white is the second layer. The top layer is the blue and the black. I remove the eyes and the hooves, paint the rest of this little boy calf. I use blue, and then paint the hooves and the eyes black. Glue that to the second layer, which was all painted white. And then the third layer is the very back, and this is where you have some of the potential stumbling blocks. I have built into the design a permanent kickstand so that if you're using it in photo opportunities and you're not hanging it on a wall, or if you want to put this on a dresser or a changing table, you need some way for it to prop. That's what the kickstand's for. But I also incorporated a place to put a sawtooth frame hanger. And I will have in this video, and I'm going to go back and edit the listing on hobowithwood.com to include the hardware information that I use, that I get from Amazon. And if you use the same pieces that I link to on Amazon, unless the vendor changes something, you will not have to reposition these holes. They will be ready to go. You'll have the hardware that I used with the proper positions, and you can just cut them out, screw them on, you're ready to go. The one thing I will caution you in is this is a total of about 9 millimeters in thickness overall. But because you have these vacancies, like here, we're only taking the white layer and the back layer, so it's only about 6 millimeters. So there are places that it's only 6 millimeters thick that you're screwing through, and the screws and the hardware that I use, they are, I think, 6 millimeters long. So I just take my side cutters or something and just clip a little bit off of the screw so that it's not too long, so I don't have any protrusion with the screw coming from the back through the front of the material. If you find different hardware, just make sure your screw's not so long, or that if you're using larger than 3 millimeter material, if you're using 4 millimeter material or 4.3, like the big box store stuff, it's going to be quite a bit thicker, but you won't have to worry about any of those screws protruding. But with the kickstand on here and my holders, you just rotate those out of the way. Your kickstand will drop out. You have little tabs on here, little slots there, and they will just fit together like so. And now this is ready to self-support itself. If I can get a hold of it, there we go. And it's now being held by the kickstand, and you can prop that up on the table, nightstand, or in the photo. Then when you're not using it, you can just put that right back into place, close up your holders, and it's there for the next time you need it. And now you can hang it on the wall or wherever you want. Now, the little boy calf I have here has got a permanent tag on the blue layer. I painted it blue because I opted not to use it. But if you decide you want to use this, you could actually kind of mask this off whenever you're painting the rest of it. Or not, you can leave it painted blue and still engrave it. But if you engrave it before you paint it, that's not going to work out so great. So no, you'd have to engrave it and then mask that off and then paint it. But you could use this permanent tag to engrave the baby's name, date of birth, birth weight, any other information you want. And depending on where you're from, if you may not know the baby daddy's name, you could list the potential baby daddy's names. But if you didn't want that permanent tag, as I have in the little girl cow, I'll show you how you can edit that off, and then you'd only have to deal with the tag itself for the months. And you can make these say whatever you want. I went with 1 through 12 months. And how that was done, cut those all out of one piece of material, using the waste material to glue to a new piece of material. And now I have a template to store all 12 tags, neat and organized, and not just thrown in a bag and having to dig through to find the right month that you need. And this keeps them from getting dinged up and scratched up when not in use. All right, let's jump into LightBurn. All right, so what I'm going to open is the same folder that you would get if you got this from hobowithwood.com. If you've got the boy calf, we're going to open the boy calf folder. It'll be in a zip file. You'll unzip it, and then you'll have 4 different file types to choose from: SVG, the LightBurn itself, DXF, and or AI. All those are there in case you're not using LightBurn, and you can use this design in another type of laser software. But I'm going to import the LightBurn file, and I'll zoom out a bit so we can see it. And what you're going to get is just like this. You'll have a toolpath that I'm going to select and send it to the top left corner of my workbed. And then you're going to have the 4 different layers here, 3 layers for the calf. The 4th layer is the 12 tags for the months. As I said, I'll take all 12 of these. These are all grouped together. I'm going to send it to the top left. Because I know my particular machine is going to need those a little off. Or actually, you know, what I'll do with this case is with that selected, in fact, let's go back to where it was at. With that selected, hold my shift button, select the toolpath, and tell it to go to center of the toolpath. Now this will be the only time that I will actually check my framing of this particular piece of artwork, because I've got plenty of room on the edges. But I have, and these tags go right up to each other, but there's hardly any room on the top and hardly any room at the bottom. But this will fit on a 12 by 12 piece of material to optimize the most out of the material, because you want these tags and the engraving fairly large, because in the photograph, if this was any smaller, you're not going to read it that well. So this is the perfect size for photo opportunities. But in order to do what I did, creating the waste material for these tags, you need to make sure that it is framed in the very center of your material. So this will be the only time that you might actually select just the toolpath and then use your laser functions here to frame that perimeter of that material, and then send this job to the printer and cut it all out. Once that's cut out, you're done with that. You can say bye-bye. Now you've 3 layers of the calf. Now this layer here is very, very simple. I'm going to send it to the top corner, and I'm going to come down about 3 millimeters and over about 3 millimeters. This waste as little of my wood as possible. So I still got all this over here to make earrings out of. And I can send that job to the laser. You will need to set your speeds and power for your laser. Make sure you do some test cuts if you're not familiar with what is going to be required of your laser to cut the material you're using. Set your speed and power, cut this one out. Once you're done, that one's finished. Then let's take a look at the very top layer. Let's send it over to the corner, send it down a few millimeters and over a few millimeters. Take a look. Now this one is ready to send to the laser with your power and speed settings. The power and speed settings I have in here were what I used on my 10 watt Lasermatic 10. So if you're using a 10 watt laser, you may find these comparable, but make sure you have your settings dialed in for your laser. Cut this out, and then remember to remove your eyes and your hooves, because those, for the contrast and to look best, painted either a dark brown or a black, but a very darker color to give the appearance of the hooves and the eyes. Now if you'll notice here, the pupils of the eyes are looking up. To me it's like, hey, he's looking up at his mom. That's a hopeful look, it's a hopeful gaze, looking up at his mother. Watch what happens if I select these eyeballs. Let's group those, and now group these. Now when you're, because these are separate pieces, when you go to glue these up, you're not going to have this one will, it has a position where it needs to be. This one doesn't. So you're going to just line it up, you know, where it's level with this one. But if you were to happen to glue them looking down like that, which you could, they'd fit. To me, that's a shameful look. He's like, oh, he's being scolded. So pay attention to your orientation when you're gluing your eyes up. That's a much more cheerful, happy little calf. All right, now, as I mentioned, the little girl calf that I cut out during my design process, I did not have this permanent tag on the calf. And I'm going to show you how to get rid of that and make this look really nice if you do not want that permanent option on there. I have everything deselected here, so I've only got that outermost perimeter of this particular layer. So I'm going to go to my nodes, and I can select these two right here and hit the letter D. Now I can get in tighter, hit the letter D, not the delete button, but the letter D. Select these, hit the letter D. In fact, I'm going to come up here. Oh, didn't mean to select that. That's okay though, because I'm getting ready to delete it. Get all of these, hit the letter D. And let's come over here, and we're going to actually come all the way over to here. And now with that deleted, I can come up here and grab that line and just bend it down to where I think it looks good, about like so. Go back to my selector tool, grab that circle, and move it up just a bit. And that is now the calf without the permanent tag on it. All right, but let's put it back the way she was. So once you've edited this, done whatever changes you need to, cut it out. Remember to pick those pieces up, the four hooves, the eyes, those are going to be the contrasting color. And that one is finished. Now here's the very back. It's all grouped together. Let's send it to the top corner. Move it down a few millimeters and over a few millimeters. We're going to use our zoom tool and zoom right in onto that. All right, now, and if you weren't aware, that's what this little broken dotted menu button, radio button up here is. Let's see, it's a zoom to frame selection tool. So if I zoom out and I pick just the toolpath and tell it to zoom to that, it's going to zoom in and we're going to see all of that. If I select, in fact, let's select this and ungroup all of it. And now I select this piece and tell it to zoom. It's going to zoom in just to that square, that rectangle. All right, so now I have ungrouped all of this layer right here. All ungrouped. I'm going to select those two slots and group those back together. If you're not using my suggested hardware at this time, you can delete these 4 circles, because if you're not using my hardware, these 4 circles are irrelevant. So just select it and hit the delete button. Those are gone. But now there's nothing to hold your kickstand in, so you're going to need something to hold that kickstand in place, unless you do not plan to ever use this as a wall hanger and you're only going to use the kickstand and you're going to glue it into place. Then you can cut this out, glue it into those slots, and never have to worry about it again until you break it and you need to go get another one or cut another one. All right. Now, crucial. This is the one stumbling block that's really a stumbling block. If you do not take this opportunity to make these slots the proper thickness for the material you're using, then you're going to have headaches when you go to put this together. I was using 3mm wood, actually measured out to about 2.8, and I want it to be a tight fit, a tight friction fit, so that this stays in place, but I can remove it and put it back away when I'm not using it. So with those slots selected, since it's the only 2 slots and they are directly over one another, I can select that group and just come in here and change my width, and it's done. With one cautionary tale. You better make sure that you have your anchor point in the center of these 9 dots. Because if you don't, then it could change the position of those slots and they won't be in the center of your design any longer. Only be off a little bit, but it'd be off. So with your anchor point in the center and those selected, I'm going to come in here. My material is 2.8 millimeters thick. I'm going to subtract a couple thousandths to make it a tight friction fit. So I'm going to tell it 2.78 millimeters. And that just shrunk that down to 2.78. And it is ready to cut out. Then you can cut that out, take it off the laser, put your name and brand on here if you like, if you're selling these for sure. My designs are not licensable because you don't need my license. I'm giving it to you right now. You take my designs and you make as many of these as you want. I'm selling these for $70 each for the cow and the calf rather, and for the 12 tags. I'm recommending a boy and a girl. And then go to your local photography studios who specialize in newborns and offer this to them as a photo prop. And then what you should probably do is recommend they buy 4. Not 3, not 2, but 4. And why 4? Because of twins. Not always, but most of the time, your twins are twin boys, twin girls. But you do have, well, they call those fraternal twins. We have a boy and a girl twin, but that's okay. If you've got 4, you're covered just about any way. You're covered for triplets. You're covered for twins. Now, if they've got the quintuplets and the octuplets and all that, well, they should have stayed away from the meds. But by selling them 4, they're covered for just about any twin or triplet situation. And give them a deal. Tell them you'll sell them 3 of them sell them 4 of them for the price of 3. And now you've just sold $200 worth of stuff off of a file that you're going to buy for next to nothing on hobowithwood.com. I would appreciate any and all support on hobowithwood.com. While you're there, take a look at all the files. I mentioned a minute ago all the waste that's around these calves. That waste is perfect material for cutting out earrings. I have a lot of different earring files on hobowithwood.com. I'll sell my earrings for $10 to $20 a piece, out of what would have been waste material. So if you're not making earrings, you're missing out on a cash cow. So this is an opportunity to make some of those earrings. I also have on hobowithwood.com an earring stand that allows you to display your earrings that you have for sale. And it's real simple, easy to put together. So take a look at that if you're going to go into the earring designs and sales. This is a real simple design and easy to assemble earring display. Every file you purchase on hobowithwood.com goes in my pocket, but it doesn't stay there long because I got to pay the bills to keep this going. All of the material, the supplies that I need, the power bill, it goes to supporting this channel, and I greatly appreciate your support. There are other ways than hobowithwood.com to support me, and that's becoming a patron on Patreon. I'm getting ready to do a video for my patrons on this floating frame design. I call it a floating frame because from the front you can't see the stand, and it has the illusion of floating, and it has a really neat stand on the back that's permanent. It's not something you take on and off. It's permanently attached. And this one is a 4x6. I also have a 5x7 in a similar design. And my patrons are going to see how to design this. Then my silver patrons are going to see how to design it, and they'll get the 5x7 frame. And the gold tier is going to see how to design it, the 5x7 and the 4x6. So if you'd like to see how this works, then become a patron on Patreon, and you'll see some of my actual design processes and get the free files. You're not going to have to be buying them from hobowithwood.com. But the free files are for the silver and gold. The gold gets the most free files. And it's $3, $9, and $20. $20 gold tier, and you're getting my files. It's cheap. It's worth every penny if you like creating different and unique projects. And it would be greatly appreciated if you would seriously consider jumping over to patreon.com/hobowithwood, right down there, and consider being a gold member and have access to these free files. If you don't want to be a regular patron supporter on Patreon, then there are other options down in the show more section, paypalme.com or paypal.me, Zelle. I think I got Cash App and a few others down below that will help you support this channel. While you're on hobowithwood.com, you can also look in the top menu, and there's the Adopt a Hobo option. The menu is Adopt a Hobo. You can adopt me and use that as a donation option. Below this video is a super thanks video. If you don't want to go anywhere else looking for any way to help support, you can do a one-time super thanks right there in the bottom of this video. So now that's a wrap on this video, because I've got to go make this video for my patrons and give them these free files. If you have any questions on this file, don't hesitate. Send me an email at hobowithwood.com. hobowithwood@gmail.com is the email. hobowithwood.com is the website. But questions, hobowithwood@gmail.com, or drop them in the comments. I'll try to get to everybody as quick as I can. So until the next video, I'm Steve, Hobo with Wood, and I'm out.